but I actually think I drove an Unlimited before I drove a Grand Prix, to be honest with you. We went and tested the Unlimited in Tri-Cities, and then I think the next week was my first race in Stuart, Florida with the Grand Prix. They only were going to let me go 130 miles an hour. They were nervous about what I would do or not do. Or maybe they just wanted to see if I could listen and follow instructions. I'm not sure. But we ended up getting it up to like 160. It was extremely underwhelming. The boat is so big. The power is there, but it's not instantaneous like a Grand Prix because you have to spool that turbine up and really get it rolling. 160 miles an hour was... I could have been doing 80 on the freeway. Things don't really get weird in the Unlimited until you're going 180 miles an hour. Once you kind of get up there, the entire boat's out of the water. You're flying it at that point, more so than in any other category.
Welcome to Power Boat Talk, the podcast where we talk everything performance boats with your host, Joe Rode.
Hello, welcome to Power Boat Talk. Today, my guest is Andrew Tate, who is an unlimited hydroplane driver. Actually, drives a lot of different hydroplanes, which is something we're going to talk about. So, Andrew and I have been trying to connect for a little while, and really happy to have him on. And thanks, I appreciate you getting up early this morning and coming on with me, Andrew.
Yeah, it's great. It's Friday. I'm happy to be here, and looking forward to chit-chatting here a little bit about boat racing. My boat racing, at least. I know you do a lot of chit-chat.
Yeah, I'm open to talk about anything. So to kind of get started on something current, and maybe this is a little out of, I don't know if it's off base for you or whatever, but, I know that back in December, H1 Hydroplanes, which is, I guess, H1's the organization for hydroplane racing, for unlimited hydroplane racing, and they just had like an ownership change or some kind of a change in management. So what's up with that, or what can you tell me about that? Or is it just all in name, or what? You got any opinions on that? I'm just curious.
I wish I could tell you a little bit more, to be honest with you, but I think in the essence of it, it's same game, different group. I think the goal is to run it more as a for-profit business instead of a non-profit. So hopefully with some marketing and advertising efforts, I think the plan would be to bring in some outside money to the sport, hopefully sponsorship, whether it's title sponsors or series event sponsors. And some key kind of components, people are no longer there. They're looking to be replaced. There's a lot of different balls up in the air at this point in time. I don't know that even if the powers to be had the answers, that I would have them. But, it's exciting. I think it's nerve-wracking in another sense. I think the competition last year within the sport was really, really good. But, hey, we got to try something. We need to grow. We need to do better. I can't thank the previous group enough. I mean, most of them, if not all of them, were volunteers. So without them, we don't have a sport. But looking forward to the future and seeing what happens there.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, it seemed like the press release was a big emphasis on more marketing, more partnerships, trying to get, multi-year commitments from race sites. And so, yeah, I mean, it's all good. Like you say, I mean, boat racing is such a tough gig for the guys that run the thing. And it's just a tough sell, tough economy. It's expensive and legalities. And so I had some drag boat guys on that ran drag boat organizations. And one of them said, yeah, somebody gave me this organization. And like, oh, that was the gift that keeps on giving, right? It's a thankless job, but yeah, you're right. At least, and I know the ownership, they're the controlling group I think it was made up of 3 or 4 owners, 2 are on the board too. So, give them props for trying. So hopefully it works out. And I think I saw, it looks like they're proposing like 7 races for next year if it works out. So that'd be cool.
Yeah. The more, the merrier. 4 events last year was definitely not enough. Not only for me personally as a driver, but I think the series, fans, promoters, everyone. The competition is there, I think. We do need a few more boats, but we definitely need some more race sites. I think I went out to Seattle this past weekend. They kind of scratched Canada off the list. There was a race in British Columbia that they were looking at doing. I think that one's kind of been scratched off already.
Oh, okay.
So we're looking at 6, hopefully getting Detroit, which I'm really looking forward to, back on the schedule, and then San Diego. Who doesn't like going to San Diego at the end of the
year? Everybody. That's probably the most attended race by crew members' wives, right? Yeah. Friends of the crew members.
A lot of us will come in and stay a couple days afterwards and try to enjoy the environment and the community. It's I don't know, almost every day is perfect there.
Yeah. I live in California, and San Diego's like the cream of California. So, yeah, you're absolutely, I get it. So your dad, Mark Tate, was a pretty famous unlimited driver, drove for quite a while. And so obviously you grew up, was this kind of your destiny from day one, or how did that all work out? How did he introduce you to that, and how did that work out?
Honestly, this is kind of a boring story probably for a lot of racers, because I think a lot of them are generational. But my mom and my dad both raced, and on my dad's side, my grandfather raced and my great-grandfather raced, so I'm fourth generation.
Oh, wow.
My mom's actually from California as well. She's from Azusa, but she ran 145s, which would be considered 2.5 stocks now, back in the day. And I think she pretty much raced right up until she found out she was pregnant with me. So that's probably why I have a screw loose. But it's most definitely a family thing. It has been my whole life. Little kid, my earliest memories are at the races, watching my dad running through the pits, or I had a little 3-wheeler I'd ride around and terrorize people on, I'm sure. But all the way. He retired. There was a few down years, but we were always big into hockey here in Michigan. So that was a wintertime thing for us. And then I didn't start racing myself until I was 11. I have a little brother who's 2 years younger than me, and I had to wait for him to be 9 so that we could both start racing at the same time.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, that was the reasoning I got from my parents. But yeah. So 11 years old I started, and I kind of been in and out of the inboard category all the way up to today, and they kept getting a little bigger and a little faster kind of throughout the course of the last 23, 24 years.
You race, I know you currently race the Grand Prix Hydros, GP Hydros, and then you also race an H350, I see, which I'm not sure what's that power and stuff like on that one. I don't know anything about that one.
So it's a Chevy 350, small block, pretty much. Yeah, done by Dart. Okay.
And it looked like, and the Grand Prix, the GP Hydros, those are big blocks, basically blown big blocks.
Yep, 468s, and there is nothing like them.
Now, it looked like, if I remember correctly when I was looking, it looks like the 350 and the GP. Is it the same hull? It looked like they were about the same size. Yeah. Or no?
Yeah, at power to weight, the dimensions are essentially just extrapolated from 350 to GP, but they're very similar. They are smaller, and I should know the dimensions.
They actually, what I did? They are like, so the GP is like a 26 foot, in the 350s are like 20 foot, 20 and a half, something like that.
It's more of a stock car, I would say.
Okay.
Comparing the two. You don't have all that get up and go right away. You kind of have to be on the edge with the machine and flying the boat kind of more so. The Grand Prix, there's almost more power than you could use, I think, in certain scenarios. So it's a little more finesse and technique. But then if you screw up, you have the kind of oomph behind
get you out of it.
Yeah, maybe make up some ground or correct for a mistake. Which is always nice to have.
Mm-hmm. So you went, so you started racing like in the stock outboards, the knee jockey type stuff, right? And then, so what was the first like full size boat you got into?
2012, 2011. It was a 2.5 mod, which not stock at all. There is a lot going on in there, but the boat and the motor combination itself was very, very cool. I was very fortunate. I drove for a family out of Louisiana, the English family. Randy English, his mother Joan, father George. They were actually family friends of the Tates dating back a few decades. So that kind of just worked out. Right place, right time, right last name type thing. I was very fortunate to receive some opportunities because of my family and where we came from. But, we had a little bit of a success there. They owned 2-3 boats in the class at one time and campaigned them all across the country. Typically every other year, we'd come out and go to Washington and try and set records. I never got one, but my teammate Tommy Thompson has more than a few. And that lasted 5 years, I think, in Waterford, Michigan, 2014 would have been the year. The Grand Prix came there. It was our inboard nationals. And I got to watch Bert Henderson set a record on a 1 mile race course in the Steeler GP. And I just knew what I wanted to do, I think.
Okay.
Then and there. It was pretty amazing watching that boat go around that fast on a 1 mile race course. Very impressive. The Chevy big blocks, you can feel them. Everything about it was kind of gave me something to look to, I guess, or some sort of goal I wanted to achieve. I wanted to be that guy. So I'm one of the blessed ones. Was lucky to receive that opportunity.
Now when that family gave you that chance, I mean, did you feel like you were ready? How nervous were you? Or?
I never really thought about it to know if I was going to be ready or not, to be honest with you. I was so content with Stock Hydro and 20 Hydro, which are just stock kneel down classes. I'm sure we might get to the point where you're going to ask me what's my favorite one is, and I don't know that I can answer that just to beat you to the punch. Yeah. But it's 70 mile an hour race boat on your knees. You're 3 inches off the water, and you're going to the first turn with 11 other guys at a big event like a nationals or divisionals, and it's there's not much of a difference on a 1 mile race course between 70.3 miles an hour and 70.1 miles an hour, or even 68 something. So you got to be there at the start. You got to be kind of going as fast as the boat will take you and not making mistakes. Just the competition, I think, with that is satisfying. So I never really looked beyond that. I don't know. We were driving to the national meeting one day. It was in Detroit, and my dad, I guess, had talked to Randy and the English family prior to me going, or he knew something I didn't, but he kind of looked over at me in the car and said, "Hey, what do you think about going to do this?" And yeah, sure, I'd love to do it, but I was surprised.
Yeah.
I was content with my outboard family and where I was at there.
I have to completely confess, we talked about it a little before that we started taping, but my shows kind of divert. Like, I like all kinds of stuff, but I have to say I kind of discount the stock outboard stuff. Like, that's kind of more where it's on the one edge. I don't do that stuff. Like, I start, anything kind of almost with I don't want to say with a V8, but kind of up. So I kind of did. So that's a very cool perspective. I've never really asked anybody about it, but it sounds like it's pretty damn competitive and pretty thrilling, even at 70 miles an hour.
Yeah, it's, I guess, more like the go-karts of what we do. Relatively affordable to get into. People can go do it. People can go nuts and spend a bunch of money trying to get all the best stuff and equipment. Obviously, that has a lot to do with going fast. But camaraderie is a big part of it, too. The atmosphere, the environment. I mean, it's families that are bringing pop-up tents or campers, or maybe staying at a hotel, that everyone's hanging out in the pits having a good time. Bonfires and beers after the day's over. I mean, you might get into a pissing match with someone. It's racing, it's bound to happen, but 9 times out of 10 you're coming back to the same table and shaking hands and having a beer together, talking about it, and doing better next time, whether it was your fault or his fault or both of your faults.
Gotcha. I mean, obviously, it doesn't matter what you race, RC cars, whatever. There's always a guy that everybody's going to try to outspend everybody. There's always a guy that just wants to do it right. But those boats look very simple. Are there like pretty stock classes which are real affordable, or is even the lowest level expensive?
You know, you can get a boat for $2,000. You can get a motor for $2,000.
That's pretty
racing,
good.
In racing terms, I think it's relatively affordable.
Oh yeah, it's way affordable.
A prop, $200 a piece probably, and you're going to want more than one of those depending on your size of your race course,
sure.
Water conditions, all that stuff. That all crosses over. But to get your foot in the door, no, it's relatively speaking cheap. That's not counting travel and food and lodging
sure.
and all that stuff as well. But you're going to get that anywhere if you want to race. The cool thing about it is you could look it up on different clubs, maybe websites, or even communicate to someone. But there's different racing schools throughout the country.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, the club owns the equipment.
Uh-huh.
What you basically do is sign up, get enrolled, and then I think you'd show up on usually a Thursday afternoon, and they'll do a few hours of classroom session with you, kind of going over the rules, the technique, what to do, what not to do, nothing too crazy. But then Friday you take turns with the other people in the class getting to drive the boat. And even if you had no intention of going and buying more equipment to go race yourself, it's quite an experience.
Yeah, that's right. I had no idea. I'm gonna have to check that out and let people know about that. That's very cool.
Yeah, Michigan Hydroplane does one or two of them a year. I know for sure Constantine, Michigan, which is on the west side of the state, Father's Day weekend in the middle of July. Constantine's a great place to go. So,
okay, very cool, very cool. So then you progressed at that point. Where did you go from that boat? From the I think you said it was a 2.5 boat.
Yeah, much to a lot of people's dismay, I went straight to that Grand Prix I always wanted to drive. And I think your conception of outboard stuff kind of is prevalent throughout the boat racing community. You know, the clamp-ons, the knee jockeys, the whatever you want to call it. But that's what I was. And there's people with big, fast, expensive race boats kind of looking around at each other going, they're going to let this kid drive his boat, huh? Like I was 2015. I wasn't, my experience and my age, now I'd probably ran more heats in Stock Outboard than most people have in their entire careers, but not everyone's kind of saw it that way. They just saw a little boat doing little circles at grassroots level, more or less. Not someone who was capable of driving a Grand Prix hydroplane, but being young and inexperienced relatively to the category, I think might have helped me. I don't know. I think at first my nerves, making sure I wasn't doing anything, putting the cart before the horse and learning, had more to do with it than pure talent or experience, whatever you might want to call it. But yeah, we went straight to the Grand Prix hydroplane and got off our rookie restrictions. We had to run, I think it ended up being 13 heats in the outside lane.
Okay.
Everyone was, and I think they've decreased that now that it's the restriction period, at least within the rules. Not really anyone has had to run those 12 or 13 heats on the outside since I kind of went through, which every time someone comes through, they get a chance to beat me quicker now. So it's kind of, it's good and it's bad. Obviously, if the guy's ready, let him go. I think I made people nervous for a long time, and whatever. They let me off restriction. We went to Tonawanda and we ended up winning the final, which was like I don't know. Some of those people might have looked around and said, okay, I guess he can do it. The other ones looked around and said, well, just wait. He's going to, I don't know, he's going to hurt himself or someone else or whatever it might have been. I mean, there's always going to be the naysayers. But,
Yeah.
Time will tell. I think I'm doing okay.
So you said one thing when you got into GP Hydro that, yeah, being young and inexperienced kind of helped you, but it sounded like it was kind of a mature way to look at it, because sounds like you actually took your time to really learn and look at it, as opposed to like the young guy going, I know how to do everything, pedal to the wood and get out of my way.
Yeah, the family that I raced 2.5 mod for were also kind of responsible for moving up themselves and bringing me with them into the Grand Prix category. So that was a known kind of quantity there, the people I was driving for and doing it with. And I've always, I guess, kind of looked at it as I've been driving someone else's equipment, but that doesn't kind of give you the right to go out there and ruin it as if it wasn't your own. I definitely didn't want to do that. And I definitely didn't want to put myself into a situation where I was, and I've done it before. I think any racer has, but I like to use the term where my balls were bigger than my brains. Everyone wants to win. Everyone wants to go fast, but there's a time and a place, more so where that just can't happen than it can. So yeah, and not knowing the limit of the machine, not understanding boat setup exactly and what needed to change and how to make it faster, and kind of progressively learning. I'm still learning. I'm by no means done learning, I would hope. But I do think it was an advantage to me. I didn't have any bad habits either, or any preconceived notions as to what a boat should feel like or how it is supposed to act. My best friend was my ass, the seat of my pants, and kind of feeling and understanding what the boat was doing, and then how to counteract that or go with it with the steering wheel and the pedals. So gaining an understanding of my surroundings, probably, I believe it was an advantage for me.
Yeah, well, that's also a big advantage when you basically progressed up with the same team and the same group you were with. That had you guys kind of, it took that, the familiarity with each other, took that kind of part out of it. You probably know how to communicate and how to, where the emotions were, bad days, good days, that kind of stuff. So how, I don't know, like when you got in that thing, because we're talking difference of horsepower. I mean, how much horsepower are they? 2,000, 1,500?
Yeah, they're right around 1,500, just a touch under. A lot of people just like to say 1,500 because that's probably the ultimate goal. But yeah, it's usually 14 and change. And when you push the pedal, it throws you back in the seat. It's honestly, I've driven a lot of different inboard boats, but the Grand Prix boat is, in particular, is the only one where I've ever had to stop and think, is this something I want to do? Can I do this? Am I capable of doing this?
Really?
More so when I first got in it and had they were all new experiences and emotions and sensations. As you become comfortable and familiar, everything kind of slows down and goes at its own pace, right? But the immediate reaction, was for sure, better be careful. Just take your time. But it was the only one where I questioned, is this something you want to do? This thing is serious.
Wow, interesting. I don't know if I said it when we were on camera or not, but man, I just love those things. It just seems like, obviously the unlimiteds are kind of the ultimate horsepower and speed, but the GPs just seem like it, obviously more noise, with the V8 instead of a turbine engine. But I just think smaller, that just your videos, I watch, you have really cool videos in your social media and just watching you do a lap in one of those things, man, you can just tell the raw power, and you guys really drive those things. So, and I think you race in the HRL, the Hydroplane Racing League, and I think most of those races, like it's mainly up east, right? Canada and eastern New York.
Yeah, Quebec. Usually 2 to 3 races a year in Quebec. There's one in New York, Buffalo area, and then Cambridge. So there's been on and off in Ontario, and then they've been involved with Detroit too. So it's kind of an ever-changing landscape. But typically 6 to 7 events a year, which is nice. All mostly on the East Coast. So
yeah.
I know you're out in California, but
yeah.
if you enjoy them, there's really no place like Valleyfield.
That's what I was kind of getting at. we don't get to see them out here. Yeah.
And then if they come to San Diego, that's a 1 2/3 mile course. So it's big for those boats. Valleyfield's 1 mile, maybe like 0.98 miles. So, to get to 155 at the end of the straightaway is moving. And then there's a tight little turn that those boats don't want to go through, right in front of the grandstands. I mean, they're coming right by you. It's an experience. I would highly recommend, especially these last few years. Grand Prix has been very, very competitive out on the East Coast, and some of our events have been pretty spectacular. But yeah, in the near future, if you guys can help it, definitely put that one on the calendar. Middle of July every year. It's a 3-day event if you can swing it. But the boat racing and the culture itself surrounding the racing is very, very cool. Great place to be.
Yeah, a guy I just interviewed, we were talking about that, and he was talking about Valleyfield, and he said it's just like the ultimate race. Grandstands, packed. So it was really, really cool.
I think we went there one year, and we blew up on like Friday or something. With the 2018 was a bit of a rough year for us, but I got to sit up in the stands and watch, which was a completely different perspective. And the passion and the love and just the community there, like, to be around that many people at one time that care about what you're doing makes it that much more special. And I mean, I think the beers and the money changing hands, people are betting crazy French Canadians.
Are you kidding, really?
Yeah, like the group of people that they're with, they'll all pick a boat or like this guy will get first choice this heat. And I mean, yeah, it's intense. It's super, super cool. Fun to watch, whether it's people or boats.
Yeah. Wow. Very cool. Very cool. Well, yeah, like I said, I just love the GPs, and I just don't think they get their due, it seems like to me. So then, like, I think it's like, what, 2016? How did you get the call to go up to the Unlimited?
That kind of started in 2014, I believe. The Outboard Nationals Stock and Mods were in Moses Lake, Washington, and that was kind of the highlight of our year, or like the big race for us, me and my dad and my family. But it's a week-long event. We were out there, and I was running probably 5 different classes, and
oh my gosh,
we did good. And at the end of the weekend, there was a B Hydro and a C Hydro final. And I think it was after the C Hydro final, Jeff Campbell came up and talked to me and was like, he was the crew chief of the U9 boat at the time. And I think they knew that John Zimmerman was going to retire or go a different direction. And they kind of out of nowhere asked if I would be interested in driving this Unlimited. And I was like, I mean, I kind of looked at my dad. It was another surprise, right? Like, I'm racing C Hydro and B Hydro here. I drive a 2.5 mod. At that point, the Grand Prix thing was kind of being talked about, but not a thing. I don't know. It just seemed like it was all happening at once. And again, I'm sure some of the success I had, my last name, whether my dad had a conversation prior to that with Jeff, I don't think so, but I'm not entirely sure. Obviously had a lot to do with it. But we had a hell of a week there. I went out and won the next heat, kept in touch with Jeff, and I don't know if it was that. I believe it was the next spring, they invited me out to test the boat, and me and Scott Liddycoat were there. It was his ride. He was going to drive the boat, but they invited me to kind of tag along and be a part of it. So that was my first ride, was 2015. And then for whatever reason, they decided to go another direction heading into 2016, and I got the call again. But I actually think I drove an Unlimited before I drove a Grand Prix, to be honest with you.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, we went and tested the Unlimited in Tri-Cities, and then I think the next week was my first race in Stuart, Florida with the Grand Prix. So it was like everything was happening all at once. And maybe that was another reason where I was kind of, when I got into the Grand Prix, my eyes lit up real big, just because it's such a different ride from the Unlimited, from anything really. But yeah, the Unlimited is just so big. It's huge.
Yeah, can you talk about that? The impression, you said your first impression of the Unlimited and kind of, the difference. I mean, you already kind of talked about the Grand Prix.
My first impression, they only were going to let me go 130 miles an hour because I think, like I kind of explained earlier, they were nervous about what I would do or not do. Or maybe they just wanted to see if I could listen and follow instructions. I'm not sure. There was probably more than one thing at work by letting me drive the boat. But we ended up getting it up to like 160. And again, maybe they wanted to see if I could watch the gauges and understand what was going on. I'm not sure. But they were comfortable, and they kept telling me to up it by 10 miles an hour.
Wow.
Each straightaway.
Wow.
And it was extremely underwhelming. The boat is so big, and the power is there, but it's not instantaneous like a Grand Prix, because you have to spool that turbine up and really get it rolling. And then once you're rolling, you want to carry momentum. It's the centripetal force. You should be going faster kind of every lap, unless you get into some crappy water or something, or you have to really back off. But 160 miles an hour I could have been doing 80 on the freeway, to be honest with you. Things don't really get weird in the Unlimited until you're going 180 miles an hour, and everything kind of narrows up a little bit. I don't know what it is, but once you kind of get up there, the entire boat's out of the water, and you're flying it at that point, more so than in any other category. The wing is I don't know the right words. I guess more effective, more efficient with those boats than any other ones that I've experienced, which is, in my opinion, the coolest, the most exciting, the most fun part about driving those boats is flying.
Not too much.
No. Knock on wood, not too much. No, I think up until this year, I hadn't been upside down in one, and it was more or less a rooster tail that got us. No fault of anyone else's. I'm not saying that. But I put us in a bad spot, and the results weren't ideal. But no, not too much. But going the second half of the straightaway in those boats are very cool. Being able to control it with the wing there's nothing like that either. So I'm probably repeating myself.
Yeah. Now, when you talk about the wing, you're talking about the front, the canard.
Yeah, the rear wing on the Unlimiteds at the back of the boat is fixed. We can change that angle in between heats or races or qualifying, whatever it might be. But the wing at the front of the boat that goes between the two sponsons it's active. I have 3 pedals on my feet. My right foot is the gas pedal, which in a perfect world is on the floor. And then you're controlling the boat with your left foot. One pedal will bring the trailing edge of the wing up. The other pedal will bring it down to create lift. Every corner, you're giving the boat lift. Out of the corner, you want to get it up and out and accelerating. And then, as that boat starts to carry or pack air, you're just balancing it out with the wing. Hydrodynamics are more powerful than aerodynamics. The surface tension of that water is no joke. So the more of the boat out of the water, the faster you're going to go.
Yeah. You actually lift the boat in the corner.
Yeah,
Really?
as much as we can. Typically not until the apex of the corner, yes. We're usually riding the wing pretty good, depending on how the boat's set up. But you want to keep that nose down. As you turn the wheel to the left, the natural kind of reaction for the right side is to lift up when you hang it on the hook. So you kind of ride the wing into the first half of the corner until you get around to the apex and you're comfortable that you're on the skid fin. And when you do go to give it lift, it's not going to take off and fly away on you. Depending on your angle and what's going on, you could drop the wing a little bit earlier, too early, and that's where you see a lot of people kind of blow over. Even in the limited classes, they let that downforce go off the front of the boat as almost the same time you turn the wheel, and it'll kick the right side of the boat up.
And that wing on the limited, basically it's like a cavitation plate or a trim tab on most other boats, where that controls the whole ride attitude of the boat.
Yeah, everything else on the Grand Prix, the Unlimiteds, 350s, they're all fixed surfaces. The fin stays in one spot. The rear wing will stay in one spot. The front wing, I believe, by rule right now, actually is the only thing that's allowed to move.
But the 350 and the GP, they use that front wing that moves too?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. How are those actuated? Are they cable, or are they hydraulic or electric, or?
Everything in the Unlimited is all by cable and foot pedal, controlled by your foot. The Grand Prix 350, there's like maybe just two different schools of thought. There's servos, hydraulics in some of them, where people have buttons on the steering wheel that they control them, much like a trim tab. I ran one of those my first three races in a Grand Prix, and I had never had a canard wing until I got into a Grand Prix. I didn't know what I didn't know. But halfway through the first year, we ripped the servo out and went to the foot pedal system on cables, strictly mechanical. I guess it depends on who you talk to, but in my opinion, I'm trying to become one with the boat. I want to eliminate anything
detached from your feel.
Yes.
Because that's what I would think the cable, it goes back to your ass, right? The seat of your pants.
And it's instantaneous. I don't have to think about pushing another button and then pushing another button. And it's not going from my brain to the motor to the wing. There's an extra step in there, in my opinion. It's literally my ass, my foot, and the wing is reacting. I was never comfortable, in my opinion. I was driving the boat too much with my right foot in the power in the Grand Prix on the servo, and trying to compensate for that lack of feel or that hesitation. I think you could get yourself into some kind of difficult positions, but that's my opinion. That's strictly my opinion. There are very experienced boat racers who have run nothing but the servo system in the limiteds, and hey, I think they've done okay, but not my cup of tea. I have my reasons.
Yeah, well, and it's obvious that you're successful. I mean, you won. If I got it right, you won the basically the high points, the driver championship for GP the last 2 years.
Yeah, we've had a hell of a run, to be honest with you. I got to drive not the same boat, but the old Steeler boat that I got to watch set that mile record in Waterford. That got me hooked on this stuff. So for me, that's really cool. Kind of got brought into that team, and we went from the Steeler to the Hydro fish, and who knows what we're going to be next year, but it's been quite a ride. Great people, great team, and obviously great equipment. I can't speak enough about how hard the team works, and the package that they have, whether I'm there or not, I think is top notch. And to be a part of it's been really, really special. We've had some success But with that being said, I think the parity and the competition has been unbelievable. 3-4 years ago, the team that I'm with now was undoubtedly, in my opinion, the top team that everyone was shooting for to try and beat. 2 years ago, I was kind of brought in to be a part of it. Again, very lucky, great opportunity. But now I look and there's the Lupton brothers from New Zealand, which is awesome that they come over here to race with us. And they are two of the fastest Grand Prix in the world. They finally put a weekend together there at the end of the year. They've been knocking on the door for 2 years now and ended up winning the last race. But a lot of hard work there and very fast stuff. Mike Grendel's got the GP79 that Jeff Bernard drives. I mean, there's 4 or 5 boats every weekend when we're at the same event that can win. The Kennedys have just built a new boat. I mean, I know I'm missing people, but that's the exciting part for me. We've had our success, but kind of watching the teams around us catch us more progressively than not. I think it's an even playing field, and it's super, super exciting.
Yeah, that's good. That's very cool that you've got those kind of numbers that are competitive.
Yeah, come to Valleyfield.
I got to put on my calendar. I've only got about 4 on my calendar now that are must go to, so I'll put that on there too. But so then Unlimited was a little more. I mean, obviously when you started in 26, I think you got your first win like pretty fast, right? In 2016. I'm sorry, 2016.
Yeah, third race in Seattle, which was again a pleasant surprise, I think, to everyone, myself included. That really wasn't supposed to happen. J. Michael Kelly and Jimmy Shane were the big dogs and the favorites. So we had a fast boat. I mean, we went to Tri-Cities the weekend before. I think we were the second qualifier. We threw a blade in the final, and the crew had to work pretty much 24/7, the 5 days in between the 2 events to get it even ready to go. So there was just this kind of weird ambiance around the whole weekend to begin with. But I was still learning. I'm very, very green to understanding what was going on. But I knew after watching Jimmy and Mike a couple weekends before that, in my mind, I knew how to put us in a position to be able to win the race. And I went to the crew chief an hour before the race, Jeff, who gave me my shot, with basically a course map, a piece of paper, and we go out there during the 5-minute gun, and I had all these numbers written down. I was like, all right, I want to be here. He's the guy talking to me on the radio. He's like, I want to be here at this point, here at this point, here at this point. And he kind of looked at me and was like, he didn't think I was ready, I don't think, but he kind of looked at me and he goes, are you sure? Like, we could just go out there and stay kind of next to one of these guys and, hope we beat the other one. And I was like, no, I think we can win. And sure as shit, we went out and surprised everyone. But that was the first and last time that happened. I think they kind of looked for us after that. But they were too worried about each other and let me kind of sneak in and put ourselves in a position to be there, and it all worked out. So, yeah, that was exciting.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. And then I think 17, something you had an okay. The 18 was kind of your year, right? Did you win a bunch of races, and then I think you won the championship that year?
Yeah, I think 5 out of 6 we won that year.
Nice.
We had a year that I don't know if we'll ever achieve again. It was, especially with the competition in H1, not a lot of boats, but some very good boats. Yeah, we got the Gold Cup. And I think, not to take anything away from the team and how hard we worked, but I think we were kind of the favorites, which was something new to me, and I think a little bit new to the team. But I guess I wouldn't be taking anything away from the team. It should be applauding the team because they were the ones that built the boat and assembled the team. The Madison team was kind of going through some changes. They had some inter-team stuff going on. They brought a new boat out halfway through the year. So they were never really on the front foot. We had some great races, but things just kind of didn't go their way that year. They had some adversity working against them too. So, hey, so goes life, so goes boat racing, I guess. But yeah, that was a special year for us and Mike and Lori Jones, Jeff Campbell, his brother. So it seems like everywhere I've gone, it's been a family deal. Whether it's the Englishes and the inboard or the Jones Unlimited. The Madison team now is community owned. And then Huey Newport with the GP deal, and Ray Lynn, 350, John Huganier, they're all people who have been friends or family our entire life. So that's very special to me.
Yeah. Because now you're on, I should have mentioned this. So you're on the Madison team now, right? Miss Madison team now.
Yep. We, kind of going through some changes ourselves. 2 boats, 1 boat. Looks like maybe 1 boat this year.
Oh no.
Yeah. So last year we had Dylan running. He was running the Home Street boat. Home Street has left the sport. So we essentially have the one sponsor. Yeah, so I drove the 1 boat. Dylan drove the other boat for Home Street. Home Street's left the sport. Not a great time to be in the banking business, I guess. But kind of leaves the team one secure sponsor with Goodman Real Estate and their team. They've been absolutely wonderful to work with, and I'm going to stay on board with them. And as of right now, we're going to campaign 1 boat. So that'll be exciting. See what comes of it. We do have good stuff. Hopefully I don't do the crash the first race of the year and missing the second race of the year and really taking us out of contention for anything immediately. So
yeah, because when you have such a short season, right, that you miss 1 race, kind of forget it.
Yeah, we actually left Gunnersville where we crashed in the final, second in points, which I think would have been all we could have asked for going into the season. But then we went to Madison with no boat. It was too busted up. Again, it was the next weekend, and there was just no way to get it fixed in time. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I mean, that's 25% of the season down the drain, unfortunately. And after that, you're kind of racing for race wins. The National High Points is gone. The Gold Cup was obviously their last race of the year. Tri-Cities wasn't a banner year for me, but I screwed up in the final and jumped the gun, took us out. So the boat was fine, but we weren't racing for the win. And we threw it all on the table in Seattle and had a great race with J. Michael. It just came up a little short.
Because I think that was your best race of the year, right? Didn't you end up second?
Yeah, we got second. For about 2 laps, I thought we were going to win. But Mike got me. We bumped. I think we ran into each other 3 times in a half a lap. And up until that point, at least in that category, me personally, had never any collisions with anyone. So it was a hell of a heat. You're not supposed to run into each other at the end of the straightaway, but last race of the year at the Gold Cup, I think we both talked about it. We're all right. No one's mad about it.
Well, you get your hands full with these boats, so shit's gonna happen, right?
It's racing, and it's kind of inevitable. We're all competitors, and we all want to do well. Not at the expense of anyone else, obviously, but when you're pushing the limits, things happen. That's why it's fun.
So how much is it gonna handicap you not having that second boat, as far as like from a data testing, that kind of perspective? You guys kind of help each other on that kind of stuff, or how's that gonna work?
I think it's gonna hurt the sport more than anything. I know they're actively looking for a sponsor to try and campaign it somehow. If anything, it'll help me personally, which I should be happy about, but I'd rather have another boat out there.
Yeah, right.
I mean, we were splitting the engines and the gearboxes and the propellers and stuff between two boats, whereas now the resources should kind of all just be delegated to one boat.
Gotcha.
And yeah, instead of having two pretty fast boats, we should have one really, really hell of a fast race boat. So I'm looking forward to that part of it. But at the same time, if I could give up a little bit to have another boat or two out there, right now I think I would.
Yeah. And then isn't Dylan one of your good friends too?
Yeah, I've known him since he was probably about 9 years old, and he came up through the outboard category. He's 5 years younger than me, so we weren't really that close until, 20, probably 18, 19, 20 years old. That age gap kind of narrows up, and you start racing against each other more often. Have more in common. Maybe at that point you're sitting around having a beer together instead of interests kind of align more. But he's become a great friend over the years, and we've had a lot of cool experiences in different categories, and he's earned it too. I think he's done a great job. It's cool to see another outboard guy out there, I think.
Yeah, and speaking of that, I saw I don't know how you did it, but you got a ride at the Havasu Classic in an F1 boat, the last race of the year, and I saw that he was actually your crew chief.
Yeah, so he's actually the owner / crew chief.
Oh, okay. So it's okay.
Something that he kind of always has wanted to do, and he put together. It's all our track record probably shows, because we either go really fast and do okay, or we have electrical problems, or we weren't well prepared enough. But it's essentially a group of guys that we grew up with racing, and we're all really tight, really good friends, and something fun to do. Obviously we want to do well, and we're not happy when we don't do well, but it's going to be a focus this year, I think, to put some time and energy into that and make sure we're showing up to the races more than prepared. Hopefully get through a whole weekend. The Havasu went terrible. We qualified in the middle of the field, which I'm driving the boat, and I'm a little bit out to lunch. Like I don't have the experience or maybe the speed that a lot of those guys do. But we qualified in the middle of the field, which we were happy about. And 2 laps into the first heat, we started having electrical problems. The weekend was pretty much over. They moved everything to Saturday because the weather was coming in on Sunday. So it was unfortunate, but we all have a lot going on, but no excuse. We dropped the ball there. Previously in the year, we went to 3 races actually. So in basically the beginning, middle, and end of the summer kind of deal. But the race before that, we were in Springfield, Ohio, and we ended up 3rd at our second race, which we were all pretty pumped about.
Yeah.
We had a heck of a race. I don't know if you saw the highlight of the boat going way up in the air and scaring everyone.
No, I didn't see that.
Still learning. The boat ran all weekend. I think we started the final in I don't know, 8th place. And we kind of worked our way up through the field a little bit, and then there was a crash and a restart, which brought everyone back together. And we ran most of the race in 4th. But like the last lap or something, we got by a guy, and I don't know, it was really cool for all of us. We bunch of guys who kind of came from the outside into Formula One, and to do it with a great group of friends and people you grew up racing with was really cool. So hopefully next year we got our little more prepared, ready to go for next year, and give them hell on a more of a regular basis.
Yeah, well, that's really good. I mean, that's a really competitive circuit. So
super fun, and super inexperienced as well. So everyone's been very gracious, I think, for the most part, the people that have been doing it for a long time, and whether it's advice or lending a couple 10-cent parts here or there to help get us through that we didn't know we needed. It's been really cool. It's been a fun experience.
And then how did you get the seat when it's Dylan's boat?
That might be a better question for him, but he was doing it the 2 years previously kind of on a part-time basis, and he's got some other opportunities outside of racing in the business world that kind of more of his focus, I think, time and energy need to be dedicated to that. And I think he was in a position to where he knew if he got hurt, there'd be a lot of repercussions in his professional life.
Gotcha.
So I'm the meat in the seat, as we like to say. I'm the crash dummy. I'm the expendable one, I guess, if you want to look at it that way.
Don't even say that out loud. And then, had he chose somebody else, how would that have gone over?
It would have been okay.
Okay.
Actually, there's a guy named Don Allen. He's 4 or 5 years older than me, so I think between the two of us, one of us was going to do it, and he very well still could next year. I might be getting fired. I don't know, which is fine. I would be totally supportive of not only Dylan but Don and the team, just because we're buddies doing it together, kind of living out a little bit of a dream, I guess. Doing something we probably could have never done or dreamed of doing, but we're doing it together. So no hard feelings if that's the case. If Dylan wants to get in it and go for a ride, I'd step right up, but you better go faster than me. So that's the only condition.
Yeah. What a crazy, diverse platform of stuff you get to do.
I'm very lucky. Not only with the opportunities I've received to be able to drive it. I think I'm very, very lucky in that aspect. But the relationships outside of the cockpit, and I'm 34 years old now. Most of my friends didn't go to high school with me. They don't live around the corner. I didn't really meet them at work. I met them at the races, and they're all over the country. My closest friends, my best friends, are boat racers or hockey players for the most part. So sports have been good to me, and I'm blessed. Yeah. Quite diverse.
Yeah. No, that's very cool. You're obviously good to get all these opportunities and all this different stuff and be successful at it too. So hey, I wanted to ask you about the crash. Probably total newbie, stupid questions, but I saw the video of it, and I mean, obviously you train and boat flipped over. You had to get out of the capsule. You obviously train. There's training that you have to do to be certified in the capsule, and you practice getting out of the capsule. But it sure seemed to me like it was a bit of a struggle. Was it not, or is that just normal? I mean, I don't know how you do it, no matter how flawlessly it goes, because it's just got to be.
You're referring to the Unlimited, right?
Yes, in the Unlimited, yeah.
Yeah. Being upside down and strapped in, it's honestly a little bit disorientating.
Yeah, a little bit's an understatement. I don't know how you do it, man.
Well, you don't. You're not supposed to.
Yeah, right.
But I think as long as everything works and everything works, you should take your time. That time, it definitely took a little bit longer than it was supposed to. Everything went according to plan as well as it could have, I guess, if that's the way you want to put it. But when I put the steering wheel up on the dashboard against the windshield, I think my airline, part of it went with the steering wheel. Like I had got it tangled up. So as I was backing out of the escape hatch upside down, like that line kind of snagged at some point. I haven't quite figured it out, but I got to a point where everything was out of the boat except for my head. So I was just kind of hanging there upside down. But, I had my mask, I had my air, it was okay. Not ideal, obviously, but by the time I had gotten out of the boat, there was the divers were right there, which was very reassuring. They do a great job. And, it sounds kind of probably not too good to say, but single boat accidents, in my opinion, you should be okay. You should be strapped in securely. The safety restraints and the mask and the helmet, everything should do its job just fine. It's not so much those that make me too nervous, outside of the fact that you're letting a lot of people down and destroying equipment if that happens. But my concern would more be with the two boat accidents. And I think that's probably applicable across most genres of boat racing.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I would think in the situation you were in, obviously I saw you fighting with the steering wheel. You kind of had wrestled with it for a second, but I would imagine the name of the game in that situation is you just have to be calm, right? Because you've got air. You just got to, because if you get excited, then it's really going to get topsy-turvy on you.
Yeah, I mean, the second you bump your mask off, take a gulp of water, that'll freak you out pretty good. And having the kind of, that happens if you don't have the frame of mind to get it back on and get it purged, then you're in trouble. I, knock on wood, thankfully I haven't kind of had that experience. 2 years ago, there was a 350, we crashed, we blew over, and the cockpit kind of went in first and the windshield actually blew out. So that wasn't like a slow trickle of water coming in the cockpit. It hit me in the face, it knocked my mask off, it knocked my contacts out. Like I knew what was going on. I didn't know why I got blasted in the face with water, but yeah, I was upside down and I was underwater immediately. But I mean, my mask was on my cheek somewhere over here, I think. I grabbed that, I got it purged, I got a breath, and then thankfully I was able to get right out. A lot of instances, if that cockpit doesn't fill up with water, you can't open the lid. The pressure is just too great. I mean, you're trying to move the whole river or lake or whatever at that point. So once that equalizes, you can get out. But that was quick. That one all happened in a hurry. I got out of there quick. Just blowing some bubbles and coughing up a little bit of water. Yeah, do the training. Honestly, I'm a certified scuba diver, and I think that has helped me more than any capsule test or training. I'm sure there's people that are going to be shaking their hand and flipping me off because someone's going to say, oh, maybe we should all go scuba diving, do that training too, make that a requirement. But
were you already, I mean, you were a scuba diver regardless of the boat. You didn't do it to become better in the capsule.
I did it when I got the unlimited ride.
I mean, why not, man? If it gives you any...
It's learning about how the equipment, how it all operates. I mean, it's pretty straightforward, but the ins and outs and then, different techniques. And it's cool. I mean, when I went to do my test in like the field, they make you dive down to like 30, 40 feet. They rip the mask off you, flip you around. I mean, and you got to hold your breath, follow your lines, get the mask back in your mouth, get it purged, and not freak out more than anything is the important part. So I think at least the state of mind thing, that's what helped me the most. Yeah, no, I never thought about that. That's a great way to do it, a great way to look at it. But now, how often do you just have to do like once a year or does each organization make you do it a certain amount of time a year? Or? It's a good question. I went and never went back. Or as far as capsules. Okay. Scuba training, no, I only did once. But capsule training, yeah, it's for the unlimited. It's every year. There's, I think, in every category besides the unlimited. In every category besides the unlimited, you have every other year is the requirement, but the unlimited's it's every year. You guys at work, they know you're famous and like leave you alone when you're doing interviews. That was my mom. I don't know what she was doing. Yeah, she just wanted to say hi or bye, I think. That's awesome. So obviously your dad's had a huge influence on your life. How much do you interact with him today? Do you still ask his advice? Does he still coach you? I mean, did he coach you a lot initially, or was he one of those dads that kind of said, hey, you got to figure out you're on your own? No, he's always been there. He's always been a great reference. I think as a kid growing up, when we first got into racing, we had good equipment. We had great team, support cast, people around us. So the equipment was always there, I think, for the most part. Competitive, maybe not the best, but something to go out there and do well with. So when we didn't do well, it was very easy to be coached or parented.
That's a very nice way to say that.
Yeah. But I don't think it mattered. It was always out of love. It was, I knew he just wanted the best for not only me, but the team and whoever was around us that was helping out, which was fine. But personally, I don't know that it mattered because I was always my own biggest critic and wanting to do better. And there was times where he was overbearing, but there was times where he told me exactly what I needed to hear too. So it's, I think any parent-child relationship, there's a learning curve there of what goes, what doesn't go. I mean, everyone's doing it for the first time at some point. So no matter what, he was always there, and it's always been really, really good. The last sort of few years, he's found more joy and entertainment and going back to the outboard category. He builds motors for people. He's got
cool.
a handful of his own boats that him and my brother will go race, or maybe he'll find someone at the races to drive for him. So he's very much involved in the stock outboard category, and he has a great time doing it. I think it's therapeutic for him to go down to the shop and assemble motors and try and make people go faster. So it's very cool.
But do you lean on him? I mean, are there questions you ask him still about driving the Unlimited, or do you know everything now?
I do not know everything. And there's times where, I don't know if they're very direct questions, but I might kind of beat around the bush, see what he knows. But I think the boats have changed a lot since he drove them. They have, but they haven't. The rules are a little bit different. Driving them is obviously a little bit different, but I think he's my biggest fan. I think, we've kind of come to this understanding where, he's not going to go out of his way to tell me what I should have done or how to do it. And, if he's not at the race, he's not the first person I'm calling or talking about, but if it ever comes down to it, for sure, I don't have a problem picking up the phone, telling him what I'm feeling, more so with boat setup than anything. I think he's kind of ingenious when it comes to that.
Okay.
We've had a great relationship where I go out and do something or drive the boat. We make a change, go out, drive the boat, and for me to be able to relay what I'm feeling, how the boat's reacting, and then for him to be able to know how to change it or maybe make it better, faster, whether it's handling, speed, whatever it might be. That's always been a super unique part of our relationship. It's always cool when we agree, we don't agree. He's right, I'm right. It's fun. And learning how to go faster and what makes boats go faster and what you should be feeling with the seat of your pants is invaluable.
Well, it's obviously a great relationship, and he's obviously done a great job. I mean, his coaching, his influence, he's done something right to where you can jump in anything that you can think of and be competitive.
Most things. I'm open to try anything once, for sure.
Yeah. So tell me something about yourself that people wouldn't generally know or would be surprised to hear.
Well, I guess the people that aren't that close to me wouldn't know that I'm a huge hockey fan. Not sure. People who are close to me would know that I started skating when I was 2, and I played all the way up to college. Loved the game, loved the people.
So you
Friday
still
night
play?
beer leagues. Yeah. Over the winter time, keeps me out of trouble, keeps me in somewhat decent shape. No, it's a good time. It's a great game, and big Red Wings fan.
Okay.
So,
How did it go growing up? Because I'm sure there was more than one occasion where it was like either hockey or boat racing. What do I do?
yeah, thankfully racing particularly happens in the summertime, springtime, and then hockey's the winter sport. My first year of college, I went and played D3 in Massachusetts. I wasn't going to go to the NHL or anything at that point. It was, go have fun, go to school, maybe go play semi-pro or in Europe somewhere if you're lucky. But that was the first year that I got into the Hall of Champions. Maybe it was it was the second year. APBA Hall of Champions. And I had to walk into the coach's office and ask him if I could miss a game so I could fly to Chicago, I think it was, and, get my award and do the speech and the whole 9. And he didn't understand it. He just kind of asked, hey, is that going to pay your bills one day or something? Is it worth it? I don't know exactly how he put it. I ended up going and giving my speech and getting my award. So I think that was kind of the crossroads for me. Maybe hockey is kind of in the rear view at this point. And you might be better off doing something else. So freshman year I was done. I came home and started working.
Oh, you were done with college and everything?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, is there anything I haven't asked you that you think we should talk about?
If there isn't, I'm be glad to do it all over again. But
Cool.
Off the top of my head, no, I think we've covered a bunch, and I don't know, talked about myself an awful lot.
Hey, I hate to tell you, but that's the focus today. So thanks. I appreciate it. So you're all over social media. You got Andrew Tate on Facebook, Andrew Tate 101 on Instagram and Twitter. And then you actually have a website, andrewtateracing.com. So if you guys want to look him up and find out more about him, H1's got a really cool site, although it's really slow to operate. But anyhow, H1 and HRL, the Hydro Racing League, both have good sites with a lot of cool information. If you want to know more about hydroplane racing, the H1 site's really cool. It's got a lot of basic stuff, and you can spend an hour in there checking it out. So check that out and follow Andrew in all those spots. And I really appreciate it, man. Thanks. We didn't know each other from Adam. I think I messaged you on Instagram one time, and you responded. We were trying to get together, but I really appreciate you taking the time. It's been really cool, really interesting. So I'm sure people are going to love it.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on, and I appreciate what you're doing here. Just trying to grow the sport and knowledge and awareness, and hopefully you're having fun doing it. But it was great to be a part of it. Yeah,
thanks, man. No, I am. I'm wasting a stupid amount of time doing it, but it's really fun. I'm gonna do it as long as I can. So, but yeah, thanks again. I really appreciate it.
You got it. Have a good day.
Man. Take care.
Thank you for listening to Powerboat Talk. If you like what you've heard, please head over to Apple Podcasts and give us a 5-star review. For more Powerboat Talk, follow us on Facebook or Instagram, or visit our website at powerboattalk.com.